Hello. Yes, William van Bentum doesn't sound very Irish, I suppose. I'm from Holland, so first of all, apologies for English not being my mother tongue, but I'll give it a best shot. I work for Hexicon, who are a manufacturer of barcode verification systems, and I just want to introduce you quickly today to those kind of systems. Hexicon are based in Oxfordshire in the UK, and we manufacture the systems over there, and we sell them across the globe. So greetings from the Netherlands, and we're not all like that, but probably half of us, I suppose. Wholesale Graphics are representing us here in Ireland, in Dublin. And Rory is with us today. He's, I think, at the tabletop show. About barcode verification, why and how is what I like to speak about for about 20 minutes, maybe even less. And I first want to inform you about the difference between barcode verifiers and barcode scanners. Any one of you familiar with, I'm not going to ask you questions, any one of you familiar with barcode verification, by the way? You are, okay. All good, thank you. Barcode scanners, just quickly, are designed to capture data content and then process the data to a system being used in a certain application. And we come across these applications, all of us, all the time. Could be a point of sale, could be at the airport, could be in other logistic environments. So they're just capturing data and process it, which is of course very important. But it's different from verification. Here we see a few examples of barcode scanning devices, like a handheld unit on your left side or a fixed scanner on your right-hand side. Portable data terminals, of course, and more fixed scanners here on the right-hand side in probably the most disorganized environment you've ever seen. It's different from a barcode verifier because a barcode verifier is a device with which you measure the quality, the print quality, but also the data content of your barcode. It examines and it analyzes and reports the quality, and therefore it checks the readability of that barcode. Because there's one thing you want to be sure of, and that is that your barcode will be read, whether it's in your own logistic process or at your customers. It's not a scanner, and that's it sometimes is confusing for people. They keep referring to barcode verifiers as scanners. Verifiers are not scanners, and it's important for me to get that message across. Verifiers are about standards because it compares the results of the measured barcodes against international standards, industry standards or specifications. And in this case, there is, of course, I would say, an ISO standard for print quality. And that's 15416 for linear codes. So I suppose you would know what I mean with linear codes. These are the regular barcodes, as opposed to 2D matrix codes, like data matrix, often being used nowadays in the pharmaceutical industry, and QR codes that we see in all sorts of being used for marketing purposes. The best known application standard for barcodes is the one from GS1, and I suppose most of you would be familiar with the GS1 organization. It's not a scanner. A barcode verifier grades your printed barcode for quality, for print quality, that is. and what you will get is a grade based on that measurement, and that grade is based on an American system which gave us a letter for quality, either an A grade or a B grade, a C grade, a D grade, or an F grade, with A being obviously the best and F for failure. The ISO system that adopted the American standard made a change, and they've now numbers instead of letters, but it's basically the same thing. So instead of A, B, C, D, F, we use 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 for quality. Now, what is a good barcode and what is not acceptable? That's really up to the user of those barcodes. So it could be retailers, could be manufacturers. But in general, we can say that the GS1 standard gives us an answer here, and that is that in the most common logistic chains, sorry, a grade 2.5 or higher would be acceptable, and lower than 2.5 would be a failure. Why would you want to verify? Verification is all about making sure that your printed barcode will be read by the scanners for which they were meant to be. If it doesn't read, you have a problem. Maybe not you, maybe your customer, but someone will have a problem when your barcode doesn't read, because it will cause time loss, and time means money, of course. It can also cause other things like losing goodwill, or in an airport your luggage gets lost. I'm sure you've been there, and it causes you headaches in the end. So you want to have good readable barcodes, and that's what a verification system it'll help you to achieve a good print quality. The question is who should be verifying? About 20 years ago, it was mainly the printing and packaging industry that worry about print quality, because they were the ones that were printing the actual code. But we saw a development over the last 2 decades that also the retailers have started verifying barcodes rather than just scanning them, and that made the manufacturers start verifying their codes as well, just to make sure that everything is in order. Also, we see that with publishers, so barcodes on books is another thing. So it's used across all sorts of industries. You may ask yourself what can go wrong with a barcode, and I've listed a few of these things. Like you are encoding the wrong data in the barcode. Another thing is too little contrast. So if the barcode is printed on a dark background, you'll have a little contrast, and maybe that's not sufficient for your application. Bars and spaces may be not the right dimensions, so they may be too wide or too narrow. Light margins, or quiet zones as they are called, the zones on the left and right hand of the barcode that need to be blank, that's a problem many times. Defects like holes and spots and voids in the barcode, which we call defects, are often seen. Barcodes can be too large or too small. There are rules for that, and verifiers will check that. Codes can be truncated, which means shortened in height. And there's more, and I've just listed a few things that can happen and will happen, and are happening on a daily basis, unfortunately. The last one in the list is the use of or the misuse or abuse of application identifiers in GS1 and 128 symbols for traded units. A lot of things are are not going very well there. So the verifier will also analyze the data content and tell you whether it's built up in the right way. So a verifier analyzes the problem area, if there is any, and will give the user information on how to correct that mistake or that poor quality and improve the quality in order to achieve an acceptable grade of quality. That's been done by grabbing a signal from the barcode. Again, I'm not going to go into details, but this is a scan and reflectance profile. It's a measurement of all the contrasts within the barcode, and based upon this reflectance profile, it determines or it comes up with the parameters of quality that are specified in the ISO standard. And I told you before that a code gets a grade for quality. These 8 parameters, all of them are individually graded with a letter or a number, and the lowest one will then determine the overall grade of your printed barcode. So it's the weakest link that determines the overall grade of your barcode. And this is typically a grading or a report according to that ISO standard, where 2.8 is the achieved grade for this specific barcode. In America and the US, they would be grading that as a B, which is acceptable. 06 in the middle is the, we'll not get into details, but is the aperture applied for the measurement. So we're measuring barcodes with a red light spot, and the size of that spot needs to be in compliance with the specifications. And 660 is the red light source, is the light source, is the wavelength of the light source being used to illuminate the code. And for most barcode scanners, we would be using red light at 660 nanometers. I don't know. Maybe I'm going too fast. Anyway, there are some types of different types of verification. There are verifiers for linear codes. There are verifiers for 2D codes. There are verifiers that do them all. There are PC connected systems. There are portable systems. And there is a difference between offline verification, which is nowadays mostly used. So we have some device somewhere in a laboratory or production environment, and people go and check a few times per hour, or whatever the frequency is, the quality of the barcodes. Or we have inline systems. So these are some different types of verification. These are samples of what verifiers can look like. They can be, as I said, the handheld ones, more or less, the PC connected ones, 2D here an example, and inline here is another example. So in this case, we put the verifier in front of a printer in a cradle, and it will check all the labels coming out of that printer, and it will save the measurements, and you will have a sort of log file for you to make sure that the quality of all those barcodes is okay. And when it's not okay, it'll stop the printer, and you can correct the mistake and then continue that batch of labels. So the advantage of inline verification is that all printed codes are being verified rather than just a few, and all the results can then be stored and kept as a proof for ISO purposes. It will do, in most cases, data content checking as well. However, it is important to know that the distance between the verifier and the barcode must be fixed, and it doesn't have a lot of tolerance, otherwise the barcode will be out of focus, which is something we cannot afford ourselves in barcode verification. It also requires a fixed angle of illumination to comply with ISO standards. So it makes it a bit of a delicate process. It requires a stable web because when it's moving you won't be able to verify codes. Speed is an important factor here. If it's going too fast, there will not be enough time to capture all the data. The orientation of the barcode is important, whether you print in picket fence or in ladder format makes a difference, of course. And then again, you also need to be aware of how you want the printer to action when, in case a faulty barcode is detected. And the other thing is, can the system itself be paused or stopped by an external device is another thing you want to consider. Wow, I've made up for the previous one, I think. I think that was basically it. We'll be here for the rest of the day, of course, so if you have any questions about barcode verification, then please come and find us. Thank you very much.